Meeting to order of the Hollister Planning Commission regular meeting, January 25th, 2024. First item is election of chairperson and vice chairperson. So before we do that, I'm just going to read a section of the bylaws, section 2.5. It says selection of chairperson and vice chairperson. Election of officers. Each year at its first regular meeting in January, the Planning Commission shall elect from its members a chairperson and a vice chairperson to serve for a term of 1 year. The new chairperson and vice chairperson shall be installed and sworn in immediately following their selection. These positions are limited to 2 consecutive terms of office. Term of office. The chairperson and vice chairperson shall serve until the next meeting scheduled for selection of those offices, and thereafter until their successors have been duly selected and assume office. Vacancy of chairperson or vice chairperson. If the office of chairperson or vice chairperson becomes vacant, the commission will elect a successor from its membership at the next regular meeting, and such election will be for the unexpired term of the office. Are any questions from the commission?
No.
Okay. Is there any public comment regarding the election?
I don't have any public comment.
Okay. I'll turn the time back to the commissions. Any comments from the commission?
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Sure.
I would actually like to nominate you to continue your role as chair.
Okay, so you're making a nomination?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay. There's a nomination. Is that the same as a motion or?
Yeah.
Okay. It should be seconded?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And all abstain? Motion carries 3-0. Okay. Next is vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion if I could.
Okay.
I would like to see current Vice Chair Steve continue.
Okay. Is there a discussion or any motion? Discussion or comment? Okay. Does he need to be here to accept that?
No. I suppose he could decline
Decline later.
next time, but he doesn't have to be here.
Okay. All right. So we had a motion. Is there a second? All right. We had a nomination. Is there a second to that nomination?
I second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Well, that's what he gets for not being here.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Awesome.
Okay, we'll start with begin the rest of the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will go ahead and lead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Ross,
Present.
Chairperson Henderson,
Present.
Commissioner Corona,
Present.
Commissioner Lenore,
Present.
and the record will show that Vice Chair Belong has an excused absence for tonight.
Okay, verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the January 25th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting of the City of Hollister was posted outside of City Hall on Friday, January 19th, 2024 at 9:45 a.m.
Okay, we'll move on to public input. This is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to the secretary before speaking. When the secretary calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the City Planning Commission. If you are joining us by Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you are joining us by Zoom using a cell phone, please press *9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the Planning Commission from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
I do not have any speakers for public input.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it was.
Now we have a new section for us. It's consent items. I'll just read the heading. All items listed under consent agenda will be enacted by one motion authorizing actions indicated for those items so designated. There will be no separate discussion of the items unless requested by a member of the Planning Commission, a staff member, or a member of the public. Okay. So we only have one item under consent. So is there a motion to, how do you say that?
I have a correction.
Yeah? Okay.
Yes.
So you're pulling
I was
pulling
looking
the
at some-
consent item?
Is it just the minutes?
It's just the
reading-
minutes.
Yeah, I need to pull those for a
Okay.
correction, please.
Okay.
The item number 1, public hearing, the vote is not correct. There's only showing 3 of us there, and there was 5 of us in the meeting. So that's incorrect. Kevin recused, and then you're missing Steve and Luke on the vote. I mean, Christina seconded, and then you have the ayes that's blank there.
Yes, I see
Okay.
that. Okay.
That was it.
We'll correct that.
Okay. Okay, that
Is there
was
a
my
motion?
correction.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make a motion based on the corrections, and I'll state it that it's the vote count on the conditional use permit for Marcy Houston. That'll be corrected as noticed, and I will recommend adoption of the minutes based on that amendment.
Thank you. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Move on to item C, public hearings. Number 1, West Fairview Development Agreement Amendment. Do we have a staff report?
We do, and we also have a presentation. Just give me one moment, and the staff report will be by Erica Fraser.
Good evening. Tonight you're looking at an amendment to the West Fairview Development Agreement for the Eden Housing project that you approved previously. Eden Housing is located within the West Fairview specific plan area. It's shown in blue on the map before you. It's off of Fairview Road. It's within an area that has been graded for streets. The entire area around Eden Housing is built at this point. And then to the north of the property, there's more construction within the West Fairview subdivision currently underway. To give you a little bit of background, in 2000, the City Council entered into a development agreement with Award Homes for their West Fairview subdivision, which includes this parcel. In 2012, the City Council amended the DA, extending the term of the DA by 5 years and revising the affordable component. And then again in 2021, the City Council amended the DA again to extend the term of the DA until, until, let me get it right.
The second time?
The second time
That's
they amended
27.
it to 2027. And to require the construction of 100 apartments available to moderate income within, or 100 affordable apartment units within the specific plan area. The applicant has requested this amendment for the partial assignment of the items within the development agreement that are only applicable to their project. The city attorney has reviewed the partial assignment. And an amendment to the development agreement requires a recommendation to the city council from the planning commission, so that is why we are here tonight. You do have three options tonight. You can adopt a resolution recommending the amendment. You could adopt a resolution recommending the city council deny the amendment, or you could continue the hearing and direct staff to provide additional information if you wish to do so. Staff is recommending that you adopt the resolution recommending city council approval of the development agreement. And I should mention the resolution, if you were to adopt number one, the applicant has asked us to change the name to Eden Housing Mimosa Street Investors LP. So it would be reflected in the final resolution if we did that. That concludes my very brief presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, any questions for staff?
I don't.
Okay, we have no questions. Is there, we will open the public hearing at 6:12. Do we have any speakers?
I have no speaker cards, and I have no speakers or hands raised in the virtual audience.
Okay, thank you.
We just did get a hand raised, Ouija song.
Hi, everyone. Are you able to hear me in the chambers?
Yes, we can. Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Weija Song. I am speaking on behalf of Eden Housing, the nonprofit affordable housing developer responsible for the Hollister West of Fairview affordable housing project. And I believe our director, Dixie Baus, is in the chambers with us as well. I would like to speak on behalf of the project. The project will provide 100 new units of affordable housing that will serve low and extremely low income families and farm workers. The project will serve families earning between 30 to 50% area median income, and that equates for a family of four, earning less than $55,000 a year. So today, Eden is requesting approval from the City of Hollister under item number 1 to approve a partial assignment of the development agreement. Approval of the partial assignment will allow us to bifurcate the parcel for the affordable housing development from the surrounding Award Homes market rate project and allow us to officially accept the land donation. This will be a necessary requirement for us to move forward with construction on these affordable units. Eden Housing has a long history of providing critically needed affordable housing throughout California, over 50 years of history of doing so. And we have managed and operated high quality affordable apartments right here in the city of Hollister. So we really appreciate your time today in considering our request. Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Any,
have no other speakers.
okay, were there any questions for the applicant? Okay, all right, we'll close the public hearing at 6:14. Any thoughts from the commission?
If you want to, I mean, I'll give you thoughts. I think that we need to do this. It was reviewed by the city attorney's office, and I can see why they need to do it for legal reasons, to bifurcate away from the award homes. So I am in agreement of that.
Okay. All right, any other comments? All right. All right. Is there a motion?
Resolution number?
2024-1, Commissioner Lenore.
Oh, number 1. New year. So many years. Okay, please, if I'll entertain a motion. I move that we adopt PC Resolution number 2024-01, recommending to the City Council approval of a development agreement amendment to the development agreement between City of Hollister. Now, did you say that's going to be between Eden Housing now, or is it still Award Homes at that point?
Sorry, it's an amendment to the existing one.
Of Award
to pull
Homes.
it out to
Okay.
give to Eden.
Okay, for the partial assignment of development agreement for Eden Housing and Mimosa Street investors for a 100% affordable project with the findings and conditions as stated in the staff report. Well, findings as the findings. Okay, is that good? All
Thank you for the motion. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to item number 2, density bonus 2023-4.
This item before you is also for Eden Housing. It's a new density bonus, or it's an additional density bonus for the project. You did approve a density bonus for this project back in March of 2023. At that time, the only density bonus requested by the applicant was for one incentive, and that was for the waiver of development standards, and it was for height and rear setbacks, which only counts as one because they were all development standards. The project is actually eligible for 3 incentives based on the affordability of the project. And following that project approval, the applicant contacted staff to request a waiver of the impact fees and a reduction in the community facility district fees. And after working through the process with the city attorney, it was determined that they should apply for a new density bonus so that we could go through the process that way for that request. So the project is eligible for 3 incentives. So there's one which was approved, and that's the development standards. And now we have a request for 2 more, and it's a waiver of all city impact fees, and a reduction in the community facilities district fee for CFD 4 and 5. As far as the city impact fee waiver goes, they are requesting the waiver of all these fees, and this is the breakdown for the project. So parks, traffic, fire, sewer, storm drainage, library, police, all of those fees. So the total fee waiver for the project for all the units would be $4,062,661 and some change. The applicant has requested this fee waiver to offset the construction of the affordable project, as well as to help with the ongoing maintenance or the ongoing operation of the project. But a bulk of this money would be used to offset the loan costs for construction. In addition to that, they are requesting a reduction of our CFD fees, and they are required to annex into CFD 4 and 5, and that's everyone within west of Fairview. The current rate for multifamily units for CFD 4 is $1,176.78, and the current rate for CFD 5 for multifamily is $758.16. So project-wide, with 100 units, those fees can be quite high, and they are collected annually. They are requesting that the CFD fee be reduced to $400 per unit per year, with an annual increase of 3.5%. And then if that project ever became unaffordable, if they sold it to a market rate developer after the 55 years is up, we would request that fee goes back to normal if it was a market rate development. The reason for this reduction has to do with obtaining funding from HUD, and they have to have a balance sheet where they show that the operational costs aren't going to exceed too much in relation to the funds that they're obtaining through rent or through the state. So that was the reason for this request for the CFD fees. They are eligible for these 2 incentives. The waiver of impact fees, the reduction in CFD, or any financial contribution from the city requires approval by the city council. So that's why you're only making a recommendation tonight. Again, they are requesting these fee waivers and the reduction to offset their construction costs, operational costs, and so they can get monies through HCD. This one we've done a little bit differently than in things in past, in case you were uncomfortable with the full fee waiver. So what we've done is we have a resolution recommending city council approval of the density bonus as proposed by the applicant. We have a resolution that had some blanks that you could fill in if you chose to only want to make a specific recommendation, so we could do that tonight and fill that in. You could also adopt a resolution recommending denial. And you could continue the hearing if you wanted to do so. Staff is recommending adoption of the first resolution, which is just the applicant's request, and then obviously it's the city council's ultimate decision on whether or not they want to approve those two incentives. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm sure that the applicant can further provide more information on why they're requesting those impact fees for you.
Okay, any questions for staff?
I have none.
Okay. Let's see. So I have a question. So the 4 million, that's probably the biggest number I've seen up here on the planning commission. So my understanding is this is necessary to just make it economically feasible for the developer to provide 100% affordable product.
That's what Eden is telling us, yes.
Okay.
The last density bonus you looked at was 1550 San Juan, and they were only requesting the offset of 3 fees. So this is much higher than that one was, because it was only for a specific number of units.
Okay. All right. And then has the city done a fiscal review to, make sure this is economically feasible for the city as well?
We have not. These are the city's adopted impact fees.
Mm-hmm.
So waiving them would be waiving the fees that are collected in lieu of the impacts provided by development. So that is the request of the applicant. But the fiscal feasibility analysis of the specific project waiver or of any of it, I guess it would be the fees that are adopted by the city for the impact fees are the fees that the city has established cover the costs of the impacts. So waiving all or any portion would be some sort of offset of what the city has assumed that fee to be, if that made any sense.
Okay.
And then I'll just add that impact fees so the impacts aren't going away, right? So they will still exist. And so they have to be paid somehow. And they can't be paid, according to state law, by other developers. So the $4 million would have to be subsidized by the city. And so I have to imagine that when this goes to the city council for approval, the administrative services director or the city manager would provide the city council with some sort of analysis as to whether or not the city can afford to subsidize $4 million.
Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the public hearing at 6:24. Do we have any speakers?
I don't have any yes, in the audience. Go ahead.
Hello, thank you. My name is Dixie Baus. I'm with Eden Housing, Director of Real Estate Development. Thank you so much for your work on this project and working with us to try and come to a feasible project that's financed. The request before you is considered a waiver of fees. We also term that it could be a loan of fees, which would put the loan still as a payable loan, but in what we call the capital stack, so that it gets paid over time with residual seats. So one or the other of it makes no difference. What it does do, though, is it makes the project financially feasible to get under construction. Right now, with all of the clawback with the state financing budget crawling back about $40 billion, all of the funds that we had intended to apply for in July is gone. And that includes Joe Cerna, which provides affordable housing financing for our farm workers and our farm worker community. We also had a pending application into the state for the infrastructure grant, which would have assisted in the payment of impact fees directly to the city. Unfortunately, those funds have been clawed back as well. So we come to you, we ask you to help us financially get this project to the feasibility. We still have a retention of our project-based voucher commitment from the county, which is fantastic. That absolutely helps. And what this fee waiver or loan, however we term it to be, the attorneys will work that out, will actually count as a contribution from the city, especially when we go to show we have leveraging points to apply for our tax credits, which is the most important dollars in the project. So with that, I'll turn this over to my colleague who might have other questions, but thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you.
Okay, and with no other speakers in the audience, we'll go to online, and this will be Weisha Song.
Good evening. Thank you again to all the planning commissioners for approving the first item today and for taking the time to review the second request. I would just like to add with Dixie's comment earlier that the waiver of the impact fees and the CFD fees would make this 100% affordable project a lot more feasible. In particular, I want to emphasize the importance of the reduction in the CFD fees. The CFD fees in particular result in close to $200,000 a year in annual operating expense for the property. And for a property that's serving families earning less than $55,000 a year, we really don't have much operating margin at all. And for a nonprofit affordable housing developer, whether or not it is an established developer like Eden, that would be pretty much untenable for a large-scale project like this. So I just want to emphasize how important that is for this important project to move forward. In addition, for the impact fees, we have applied, as Dixie mentioned, we have received project-based vouchers. We have already applied for infrastructure grants at the state level, but those two funds alone won't even be able to cover the impact fees and the CFD fees long term. So just to provide a little bit of context as to how these fees will impact the feasibility of this project. So we really hope that the Planning Commission will consider our request today, and a vote in support of this request is really helping us support the creation of affordable housing in Hollister, and will help us pave the way to create these 100 critically needed affordable units. So thank you again, and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for the applicant? Okay, we'll close the public comment the public hearing at 6:29. Okay, what are any thoughts from the commission? Yes, Commissioner Lenore.
Okay, I'll start it off. I've given it a lot of thought. During the week, we often ask ourselves, at least I have for a good 5 years, what's it gonna take to get some affordable housing built in this city? What's it gonna take? It just seems insurmountable sometimes. Well, I think I've come to have an answer now. I think it takes a partnership. I know it takes a partnership. And in this case, it's a partnership with the county, the city, Eden Housing, and the taxpayers of the city of Hollister. $4 million is a lot. It's a one-time fee. I'm a little concerned as well with the CFDs that are ongoing fees. But I was talking with somebody that I have a lot of respect for, and this person said regarding the CFDs, it's a concentrated area, so you're not giving reducing fees for community facility districts for a lot of area. So you have a concentrated area for police and fire, which I think is manageable. Regarding the impact fees, we've waived impact fees in the past for development that we've needed here in the city, whether it be, a lot of times it was commercial and industrial. In fact, we did some sales tax stuff for the commercial over there in Hollister Farms, and I voted on that because I thought it was very important for the community. So this is another one of those projects that I think is very important for the community. It's a start. It's a valuable start for the city of Hollister. The county has done some, which is very commendable. So I want to, for my own opinion, I do agree that we should I recommend to the city council that we do waive those impact fees, those one-time impact fees, for the betterment of the community. As far as the other one, because it's a limited area on CFDs, I can also go with the $400 per unit. So I'm not inclined myself to make any monetary adjustments, and that's my opinion. And I think that it's important because, again, this is what it may take. Doesn't mean it has to be this way every time, but for this project, 100% affordable, not just some affordable. So that's a little bit different in the category of affordable housing. This is 100% affordable, and it's being suggested by a nonprofit organization, and I would like to see it proceed. Those are my comments. Thank you, Chairman Henderson.
Thank you. So I had a question, I guess for you, Commissioner Lenore. So is it really 100% project if it's because they're receiving density bonus based on a much larger project? So these units are 15% of a larger project.
No,
No?
this is different. This was 100 units that they were already, it's not inclusionary housing. They were gonna do this 15 years ago. So it's not part of that 15%. It's a 100% affordable housing. Am I correct?
Yeah, it's weird in this case because it's part of a development agreement.
Right.
In a subdivision, and it was required that they have 100 affordable units. It's 15% of the entire subdivision area, but in this project, it's 100% affordable, and so it is a little weird because it's usually just like one parcel, and we're not talking about a larger subdivision. That's why they don't get 4 incentives; they only get 3 because of their percentage of the overall project. But it is on their own lot, 100% affordable.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
And I'll add that the property was given to the city. How did it come about? It was given by Award Homes.
So Award Homes, as part of their negotiations for the development agreement and the specific plan, because the specific plan covers a large area, it was the incentive to the city for all the work that's been done within the specific plan and then on to the West Fairview subdivision. But Award Homes owns that lot.
But they gave it. They didn't sell it.
They're giving it to Eden.
Okay.
It's going to Eden, not to the city.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments?
I was actually wondering about the CFD reduction. What's the fiscal impact of that?
So I'll go for CFDs because it's kind of a thing that I do. So as Erica mentioned, and I'll go back to the slide so we have the actual number. So to start with CFD 5, because that one's just a little bit more straightforward and simple, CFD 5 covers police and fire services for new residential projects. As is indicated on this slide, there's a flat rate, and I say flat with an asterisk because the CFDs do increase annually based on the CPI or a 4% maximum, whichever is less. But there is a flat annual rate, and the current rate is $758.16 per each multifamily unit. There's a separate rate under CFD 5 for the provision of police and fire services for single family units. But anything that's annexed into CFD 5 pays that same rate. But it is a maximum tax. So it's our recommendation in the staff report, if the Planning Commission does want to make the recommendation that the applicant is requesting, that they still agree to annex into CFD 5 at its full rate. We don't establish a different tax rate for them specifically that establishes a lower maximum tax, but then we enter an agreement. So we would be reducing that $758 to some amount, and that's something I would request clarification from the council because Eden is requesting $400 total per unit for both CFD fees. So we could split that 50-50 or put it 100% into police and fire or 100% into public facilities. So, but overall, they're requesting that this total amount be reduced to $400. And then just to explain on CFD 4 and why staff is making the recommendation again that they annex into this tax zone at this $1,100 rate. This tax zone for CFD 4 was established based on an estimate of all of the West of Fairview subdivision. So all of the original award homes, there's 579 other single family units in addition to these 100 apartment units that were calculated for their lengths of streets and sidewalks, and we established what the cost for maintaining and replacing on their replacement schedules all of these public facilities would be for the entire subdivision, so that all of the neighbors would pay the same amount, because otherwise the first phase that had to build Union Road, and they had to build the big stormwater detention facilities that serve the whole subdivision, that first phase would have had a much higher CFD4 rate, and the rest of the phases of the subdivision as they annexed separately would have had much lower CFD rates for CFD4. So in that regard, that's how tax zone 20 was established, and we do a big budget, then we divide it by the total number of units, and this came up with there's a single family fee, and then there's this multifamily fee. And so it's our recommendation, if the Planning Commission and or the council want to take the recommendation to reduce the fees down to 400, that the applicant still agree to annex into this tax zone, so that an agreement could be made with Eden, as opposed to putting on the property an overall lower tax, because then there's no potential for coming back and making up that public facilities maintenance costs if the agreement with Eden or Eden were to not own this property in the future, or if it were to become market rate. And so that subsidization was not needed in the future. Because this is a tax, it requires a voting procedures and property owner consent. And the way that the city has this is it's an agreement as part of the conditions. So the overall fiscal cost would be a reduction of, let's say this is $1,900 or so per unit per year, down to $400 total. But the Planning Commission could make a recommendation, or ultimately, if the council wanted to approve it, I would ask for clarification on where this $400 would be split between, because it is two different services that are being provided by these CFDs.
And so then where do the funds come to for CFD 4 and 5 to make up for the difference?
So it would just be general fund money annually, and the entire city is not annexed into CFD 4 or CFD 5. These are newer facilities districts. So CFD 4 was established in 2012. So anything from before 2012 that was built in the city isn't paying these taxes. But anything after 2012 is residential is annexed into CFD4, and some of the more recent commercial is also being annexed into CFD4. There are different tax zones. So west of Fairview's tax zone is tax zone 20, but there are currently 21 different tax zones with different rates. So different projects, we prepare that same budget and then divide it by the total project, and it's based on what facilities the city's going to manage. So some have higher rates because the city has more streets and roads or parks that we're going to maintain for that subdivision. And some have smaller because they have private roads, so they're doing an HOA, so their CFD tax is less. But again, that's just anything from 2012 to present. And CFD 5 was established in 2018, and it replaced our CFD 2, which also did police and fire, but CFD 5 had this different fire and police study of the facilities needs, and it increased the rate. So I would say there's about maybe 30 or so subdivisions from about 1992 until 2018, residential subdivisions that are in our CFD2 tax. So they do pay that lower rate annually. And then anything from 2018 forward is paying this CFD5 rate. But anything that was built prior to about 1992 when the CFD2 was established is not currently paying any police and fire CFD type of a tax. And so all of our police services and fire service that we serve to the rest of the community is just being subsidized by general fund. And that's what would kind of be happening here with a subsidy. So it'd just be general fund providing our police and fire services. There's no net neutral on the particular subdivision.
We actually had one that expired, right? CFD1 came to
Yes,
came to
CFD
life,
one
that's what
expired,
happened. Then we got
CFD three
smarter.
expired.
You can't have them expiring because the impacts never go away. So we figured that out real quick.
And what does CFD4 cover?
CFD4 is the maintenance of public facilities. So it is maintenance of things like landscaping, lighting, so your parks and street trees and those types of things. It also covers the maintenance of streets and sidewalks, curb gutter, repaving roads, replacing those types of things, and it covers stormwater facilities. So your stormwater pipes, detention basins, or other facilities like that. So that's covered by CFD4.
That's what they used to call a landscaping and lighting district?
Yes,
Okay.
it was previously a
That's what it
landscaping and
was.
lighting
Okay,
district,
thank you.
which is still on some of the
Okay,
properties
right.
as well. But we don't annex into that anymore.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the commission? Is there a motion?
I mean, I would like to kind of consider some amendments or options for this. Are there any other thoughts? I know Commissioner Lenore, you have yours. Does anybody else have any thoughts?
Well, what were the, so my thoughts are that I guess this project has been 30 years in the making, apparently, and it's kind of an unusual case. So it's not like I imagine it's going to be moving forward where we're going to have, hopefully, if a measure gets passed, I guess it was going to, the city council almost passed the municipal code for the projects to be 15%, but it hasn't happened yet. But I imagine that it will eventually come into effect. But projects, I think in the future, we're going to be seeing projects where all the developments are going to have a 15% affordable element to them. And I think that's probably the way we would want to see things moving forward, but this is kind of an unusual case. So my question is if it's feasible for the city. I think that's something that the city council and the city manager can kind of hash out based on our recommendation. So those are my thoughts.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
For me, my thoughts are the public's been asking for affordable housing for a long time. We're now in position to not only offer affordable housing, but low, very low, and extremely low. It's one of the first time projects since I've been living in Hollister for 22 years. As Chairperson or Chair Henderson has mentioned, it's been 30 years. I would be strongly in favor of considering option one and at least getting this project moved to the city council and then have them figure out the finances.
Did you have anything else?
I'm glad. No, that's what I wanted was conversation about it. So
Yeah.
as long as the city council and, like you said, manager find that it's financially feasible, then I agree. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for that. Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt PC Resolution 2024-02 of the city recommending to the city council, I recommend we adopt resolution number PC 2024-02 of the City of Hollister Planning Commission recommending to the city council a density bonus to waive impact fees and reduce the CFD fees for a 100% affordable project located on Cesar de Avenida de Cesar Chavez and Mimosa Street, as stated in the resolution.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0. We'll move on to item D, informational reports. Starting
Oh,
with,
wait, we have
Oh.
one more resolution.
oh,
Yeah.
my bad.
It's for the CFD,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you for that.
They're both together in the resolution. It's only one.
Oh,
Oh, well then, what's this one? Oh, that was the
That
fill
was
in the
in
blank
case,
one.
that, the second one was in case you wanted to
Didn't go
recommend
with the
something
option?
different. Yeah,
Okay.
just to let you know that you had, we could fill it in for you.
So, disregard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
No, because we're going with the recommendation?
Yeah, yeah.
All right,
okay,
guess it's clear cut then.
okay, great. So
It's done.
moving to section D, or item D1, Planning Commissioner reports. Is there anything that the commission would like to report?
Commission, I'm going to attend the academy. So
Great.
I'm excited about that. I know I've been twice already, but you can't ever get enough current knowledge. So I'm looking forward to that, and I hope a few others can attend, and I thank the city as well. I always have for those types of things. Appreciate it. I'll bring back info.
Great, thank you. I will not be attending mainly because I need to reserve the time to continue my job search. So, anyone else have something to report? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item D2, Planning Division report.
I don't believe I have anything to report, Chairperson Henderson. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we are at the conclusion of our business, so I will adjourn the meeting at 6:49.
Thank you.
Recording stop.
Yeah, I was in agreement of that, for you to do it again.
What?
Said, told him, good job on the chairman
Oh,
recommendation.
oh, okay.